Welcome to the 14th Annual Armistice Day Vigil and Commemoration. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Jim Fisher, Executive Director of the Korean War Veterans Memorial Foundation. Welcoming you with me is Yuna Kim, a Remember 727 volunteer since 2008. Hi, Yuna.
Hi, 안녕하세요. 제 14주년 휴전일 기념 행사에 오신 것을 환영합니다. 저는 2008년부터 리멤버 727의 자원봉사자로서 활동한 김유나입니다. 저와 같이 사회를 보시는 분은 참전용사기념재단 사무총장님이신 진 피셔 중령님이십니다.
We are proud to be a host the worldwide photo and video contest to mark the anniversary of the Korean War from June 25th, 1950 through July 27th, 1953. It is to honor the sacrifices of veterans and promote peace within the Korean Peninsula. We also aim to raise awareness and funds for the Wall of Remembrance that is now being added to the Korean War Veterans Memorial here in Washington, D.C.
올해 저희는 6.25 전쟁을 기념하고 참전용사님들의 희생을 기리며 한반도 평화를 도모하기 위해 세계사진 영상 에세이 영상 콘테스트를 개최하게 되었습니다. 이 콘테스트는 워싱턴 DC에 있는 6.25 전쟁 기념관 옆에 세워질 추모의 벽을 알리고 이에 대한 기금 모련을 위해 시작되었습니다.
We will now present Colonel William Weber, an honorary chairman of the Korean War Veterans Memorial Foundation, who spearheaded the construction of the Wall of Remembrance.
먼저 참전용사 기념재단 명예이사장님이시며 추모의 벽 건설을 주도하신 밀리엄 웨버 중령님들을 소개시켜드리겠습니다.
Good afternoon. I'm Colonel William E. Weber. I'm honorary chairman of the Korean War Veterans Memorial Foundation, and that is a group, as the name implies, that is interested in maintaining interest in the Korean War Veterans Memorial on the Mall, and to educate the American people about the Korean War, its importance in history, and while we still today honor those who served in it. The Korean War was my second war, and if I may say so, my worst in terms of the fact that my wounds in Korea were very severe. I lost an arm and leg, although that is minor in comparison to the over 36,000 of my brothers in arms who lost their lives in the Korean War. I would like to congratulate all of you and the winners of the contest for remembering through your photos and elsewhere the sacrifice of that generation of American soldiery who participated in the Korean War. Basically, what we fought for was a unified Korea. It has not yet happened, but at least South Korea is a firm and strong democratic society which will hold its place in the world and ultimately may be the forerunner of a united Korea.
You will hear special messages by our honorary judges throughout the evening to include United States Congresswoman Young Kim, United States Congressman Mark Tinoco, United States Congressman Andy Kim, United States Congresswoman Marilyn Strickland, daughter of a Korean War veteran, United States Congresswoman Michelle Steele, and former U.S. Congressman Jay Kim, who was the first Korean American member of the United States Congress. You will also hear from Maryland's First Lady Yumi Hogan, Republic of Korea as National Assemblyman Go Jong-jin, and Republic of National Assembly member Chae Hyung-deo.
본 콘테스트에 명예 심사위원으로 참석해 주신 분들로부터 받은 특별한 메시지를 보여드리겠습니다.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Congresswoman Marilyn Strickland, representing the 10th Congressional District of Washington State. It is my honor to be here today. The Wall of Remembrance is an amazing accomplishment. and I'm so proud of everyone who helped raise funds for its construction, and grateful not just as a Korean American woman myself, but because my father, Willie P. Strickland, served in the Korean War. He would be so glad and so proud to see his friends and those he served with be honored in such a meaningful way. My father was one of many who answered the call of duty to fight in Korea, fighting for freedom, fighting for democracy, and fighting for people he did not know. It was there where he met my mother, In Min Kim, and they got married after the war. I was born in Seoul, Korea, and my family moved to America when my father was transferred to Virginia. We struggled as immigrants, as minorities in the South. But I also saw the values that inspired those US troops that came to America and made the ultimate sacrifice: liberty, diversity, and the American dream. When I was sworn in on the 3rd of January on the floor of the US House of Representatives, I wore hanbok because I wanted to make a strong statement that the United States of America belongs to all of us, that the US House of Representatives is the people's house. It was in honor of my mother, my Korean heritage, and to send a very strong message. And to honor my mother and father, I am working to strengthen the relationship between the US and South Korea. One of my first initiatives is working on uniting families who were separated, and some who have relatives in North Korea who now live in South Korea or who live in the United States. We want to make sure that we're able to end the Korean War officially so that we can fight for peace and prosperity on the peninsula. Every person who submitted a photo or video memory, thank you so much. It reminds us of our past, but it also promises a most hopeful future. So on behalf of me, the 10th Congressional District of Washington State, and my family, thank you so much for your service. I am a proud African American woman, and I will always be a daughter of Korea.
Hi, I'm Congressman Andy Kim. I wanted an opportunity just to join all of you in observing and commemorating this important moment, to recognize the armistice of the Korean War, to recognize that the legacy and the effects of that war are still with us today, and something that we have to think about. It starts by honoring those that served, Americans, our international partners, the Korean service members that served alongside. All of us have to make sure that we're paying tribute to those that served, put their life on the line, and some of them made the ultimate sacrifice. That's why having a memorial is so important. I'm so grateful to have the leadership across the board be able to show the importance of that, to remember those names, to be able to pay tribute to their bravery. And I want to congratulate the contest winners who have been finding ways to commemorate, using photos and videos to be able to tell that story and make sure that we're continuing to live up to that memory and not let it die or fade away. As someone who is a Korean American in Congress, someone on the Armed Services Committee and the Foreign Affairs Committee, I know how important things are for us to be able to not just commemorate, but remember the lessons learned, to understand the consequences of that war, to help us in the future to be able to better bring peace to our current world, to try to make sure that we're avoiding the plague of war and conflict that we have seen in past generations. So I want to work with all of you to make sure we're lifting up this moment, this memory, and working together to ensure we have a more peaceful world, a more peaceful Korean peninsula, and certainly a stronger alliance between the United States and Korea. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Congresswoman Young Kim, representative of California's 39th Congressional District. I'm excited to be with you all virtually today for the 14th annual Armistice Day Vigil and Commemoration, as we honor the Americans and Koreans who served in the Korean War 71 years ago, and remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice to protect freedom and work together to promote our shared priorities. On the Korean War Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C., reads a quote: "Our nation honors her sons and daughters who defend a country they never knew and people they never met." As an immigrant from South Korea whose family lived through the Korean War, and as a wife and sister of veterans, and now as one of the first Korean American women to serve in Congress, this is personal to me. And I know I'm here today because of the sacrifices of our brave Korean War veterans. Words alone cannot express how grateful I am, and I know many of you feel the same. We will not forget the names and the stories of the 36,574 Americans killed in the Korean War, as well as the more than 7,200 Koreans who died while serving in the Korean augmentation to the United States Army. We're here today because of their courage and their sacrifice. We also know the impacts of this war are still felt today. An issue dear to my heart is that many Korean Americans have still not been able to reunite with war-torn family members in North Korea. That is why I have been working to reunite Korean American families before it's too late. I'm so excited and encouraged that people from all over the world have submitted photo essays, videos, and other reflections on the significance of the Korean War in their lives, from Korean War memorials and veterans to divided families and war and peace. These important themes help us honor our past, remember how far we've come, and know that we must work together to achieve a denuclearized North Korea so that we can achieve peace and security on the Korean Peninsula. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Congresswoman Michelle Steele from California's 48th Congressional District. As one of the first Korean American to serve in Congress, it is my honor to speak to you today about the significance of the Korean War. I was born in South Korea and raised in Japan, and I have heard so many times from my parents who fled from North Korea to escape communism, the devastating impact of this war. To this day, the peninsula is divided. Millions of families who fled before the war, who were unable to be reunited because of North Korea refusing to cooperate. For some of these families, it is too late because of their age. For others, they deserve to be reunited before it is too late. In Congress, I was proud to support the Divided Families Reunification Act, which will help reunite Korean Americans with family in North Korea. It is also so important to remember and honor the sacrifices of our United States veterans who saved in this war. Many were not given the thanks they deserved for their service and sacrifice. We should never forget their service, as well as the lives lost to protect the Korean Peninsula. We must continue strengthening the important alliance between the United States and South Korea. As a member of the United States Republic of Korea Interparliamentary Exchange, I am working to advance the growth of freedom and democracy on the peninsula. Thank you for working honoring the veterans, divided families, and lives lost because of the Korean War. Thank you for inviting me today.
Today, we celebrate the bravery of the nearly 6 million service members who fought in Korea and remember the nearly 36,000 service members who never made it home. The Korean War was the first American war in which units were not separated by race, allowing service members, regardless of color, to serve side by side under the same flag. There are countless stories of heroism and patriotism, like that of Demencio Rivera, a Puerto Rican service member who engaged in hand-to-hand combat to protect his unit from an enemy attack. Or that of Herbert Pili La'au, a Hawaiian service member who risked his life to ensure his platoon's safety at the infamous Heartbreak Ridge. For their courage These men were awarded 2 of the 146 Medals of Honor during the Korean War. We cannot let these accounts of bravery fade from our memory, and we must strive to include them if we aim to tell a complete history of our country's military service, one that recognizes and celebrates the diversity of our nation. The Korean War helped pave the way for a more diverse military, not only because of desegregated units, but because of the inclusion of 120,000 women on active duty, with many more serving in the Women's Army Corps, women in the Air Force, the Navy Women's Reserves, and the Women Marines. In Congress, I have made it my top priority to make sure the Department of Veterans Affairs recognizes the extraordinary diversity of our veteran population, which has become more representative of the country as a whole. It is important that whoever wore our country's uniform can equitably access the care and benefits they've earned.
Now, we are proud to share the winners of the contest. We received 114 entries from 12 countries, which were scored across English and Korean by 145 judges from all over the world. So rest assured, these are impartial from both the wide range of participants and the law of averages.
지금부터 수상작들을 발표하겠습니다. 전 세계 12개국으로부터 114개의 작품들이 출품되었습니다. 그리고 전 세계 145명의 명예 심사위원으로부터 심사가 되었습니다.
I appreciate coming here. 40 days from now, will be the luckiest and the happiest ex-sergeant in the Marine Corps that ever lived. I'm going to be 91 years old, and I'm really happy about it, because I learned quite a bit in growing up in the last few years about what it meant, what I went through, and the adventure and the excitement as a 20-year-old that got called in, and all of a sudden, I'm going to be John Wayne Chinese style. And I'm so proud to have served in Korea. And now, at that time, I was very, very upset, very disappointed about what I went through, because the results were not as happy as I was hoped to. And I saw my first dead Marine, and that changed my whole thinking about war. I hated it. But I love serving my country. I love serving South Korea, and what we accomplished, I didn't think we accomplished much until Joe Wong and I went to South Korea. What is it, 5 years ago, Joe? We got to visit. And it was a wonderful experience to see turn when I left in 1950, South Korea was completely destroyed. So when all of a sudden I saw a picture in the Korean Mission in Los Angeles that showed how beautiful it was, and then the Olympics and everything, I said, I just had to come and see how you folks did it, what happened. And I see the best airlines, it was better than LAX. It was just fantastic. Everybody driving new cars, and it was so American now, you know, and we accomplished something out of it. And also I was surrounded by children for 3 to 4 years apart, I get 4 or 5 years old. And I started crying because I remember how sad it was just to leave South Korea when everybody was still so hungry and they're not eating. I hope people quit building bombs and start feeding the hungry people more than killing. It just doesn't solve the problems. I have learned one thing being 91 years old, is that the feeling of caring and understanding more than hating. Hate is they call it homegrown hate that we have right now. But I call it a virus that spreads out. hate and just a waste of energy and time. And most of the time we don't really understand why we hate anything. And we all hate our own hates and our own learning that we learn as young people. And in our religion and so forth, we learn so many sometimes we don't stop to think that the people, well, what I'm trying to explain is in Japan we had Pearl Harbor, and there were so many people who got killed in such a short time. And there was so much hate going and so much propaganda going. And after the war ended, how many GIs married Japanese? I mean, what happened to remember Pearl Harbor and everything? We changed our thinking because we got to understand our enemies. We understand how to talk to them, how to live with them, how to be part of the human race. And that's my answer to what human race is the greatest race in the world. Yeah. And I really strongly believe that let's start changing and quit hating, quit making bombs, and let's start enjoying the beautiful life that I've enjoyed. And I want to salute all the young people that served in Korea with me, the 20-year-olds that didn't even know where Korea was at one time. And we all of a sudden we're there and we're serving our country. The South Korean people, I don't know how many we lost, but one is too many. So I'm just so excited about the fact that I'm learning how to live my life and be happy and not be worried about the past and not be worried about what happened in 1930, how to live with each other and how to learn and love each other and be proud of, be happy and be part of the human race. And I thank you very much for inviting me, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Angeli Campbell. I am the Youth Ambassador of the United Nations Memorial Cemetery in Korea. For the past 5 years, I've made it my mission to keep the memories of the Korean War veterans alive. I am joining you today from the United Nations Memorial Cemetery in Korea, in front of the Wall of Remembrance, etched with the names of more than 40,000 people worldwide who died in the Korean War. The inscription on the wall says, "We engrave your names in our hearts with love. We inscribe your names in our land with appreciation." 우리의 가슴에 님들의 이름을 사랑으로 새깁니다. 우리의 조국에 님들의 이름을 감사로 새깁니다. Please join me as we light our candles in honor of all those men who paid the ultimate sacrifice for our freedoms and hope for peace on the Korean Peninsula.
Hello everybody, my name is Hannah Kim, founder of Remember 77, joining you from the Korean War Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. on this very special occasion to commemorate the Korean War Veterans Armistice Day. As you can see, the Korean War Veterans Memorial in D.C. is under construction to build the wall of remembrance that will etch the names of all those who sacrificed for your and my freedom, and to remind all of us that freedom is not free. So I thank all of you, the judges, the contestants, and Asia for really lighting the candle and keeping the hope for peace alive on the peninsula as we honor the veterans. Thank you very much. Bye.
안녕하세요. 국회의원 고영진입니다. 오늘 7월 27일 한국전쟁 휴전기념일을 맞아 전 세계에서 한국전에 참전해 주신 모든 참전용사께 깊이 감사드립니다. 또한 오랜 기간 참전용사를 기리고 기념사업을 이어가는 관계자 여러분께도 이 자리를 통해 감사 인사를 드립니다. 한국 국민들도 평화를 지키기 위해 멀고 낯선 전쟁터에 뛰어든 참전용사에 대한 감사의 마음을 잊지 않고 있습니다. 드디어 올해 워싱턴에 한국전 전사자 추모의 벽이 착공되었습니다. 근거법 마련부터 재정 확보에 이르기까지 여러 해 동안 우여곡절이 있었지만 한국 정부는 예산 지원을 통해 건립에 적극 협조해 왔습니다. 제가 국가보훈처를 소관하는 국회 정무위원회 소속으로 활동했던 때에 한국전 전사자 추모의 벽 건립을 위한 예산 지원에 노력해 왔기에 더욱 감회가 깊습니다. 추모의 벽은 참전용사뿐 아니라 피와 땀으로 이어진 양국 간의 굳건한 결속을 상징하는 공간이 될 것입니다. 또한 이번 콘테스트에 참여해 참전용사를 기리고 평화를 기원한 모든 분들에게 감사를 드리며 특히 수상자에게는 축하의 박수를 보냅니다. 6.25 전쟁의 아픔과 참전용사의 희생을 절대 잊지 말고 한반도 평화의 희망을 버리지 말자는 말씀을 드립니다. 감사합니다.
Hello, I'm Hyung-do Choi, a National Assembly member of Korea. I'm very thrilled and grateful for having this opportunity in this great event for commemorating Korean War veterans. I'm very honored to join this wonderful event as an honorary judge for the worldwide photo essay and the video contest on the Korean War. I especially sympathize to the event because my hometown constituency, Masan, was the last bastion of our country during the war. At the time, the 25th Division of the U.S. Army and the Korean Marines had courageously fought and protected our city. 10 years later, Masan had the first democratic movement in the Republic of Korea, and another 10 years after, our city prospered with the free trade zone and contributed to the overall prosperity and economic success of our nation. These were all possible thanks to the veterans and the allies who helped protecting both our nation and our city. I recently visited the Korean War Memorial in Washington, D.C. for the congressional discussion on the COVID-19 vaccine cooperation between U.S. and Korea. I particularly remember this following statement at the memorial. Our nation honors for sons and daughters who answered the call to defend a country they never knew and people they never met. And freedom is not free. Korean people and the members of the Korean National Assembly always remember these words. We thank to the veterans and our allies who contributed very much in protecting democracy and prosperity of a market economy in this nation. We will always remember the Korean War veterans and their family for their courage and sacrifice. Thank you for inviting me for this great occasion, and thank you all who have fought for our nation and our city and still praying for us. Thank you so much.
Howdy, this is Jerry Kim, the first Korean American ever been elected to the U.S. Congress. This forgotten Korean War already marks 71st anniversary. Nearly 37,000 American lives were sacrificed during Korean War and lost 8,000 soldiers missing. I recognize former colleagues Congressman Charles Rangel for making July 27th as National Korean War Veterans Armistice Day, especially Hannah's effort for going around the world and U.S. to say thank you to those veterans and our allied members who lost their lives in Korea. After so many years past a forgotten war, it's no longer a forgotten war. It raised awareness, and we cannot never forget the Korean War and the sacrifice of the forgotten heroes. My church in Korea has been inviting Korean War veterans and families to Korea for the last 14 years to recognize their sacrifices. There are memorial services in many places in Korea now. Again, thank you, Hannah, for your untiring love and support for the world of peace. We must recognize and try our best so that war will never happen again. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Yumi Hogen, the First Lady of Maryland. As an honorable ambassador of the Korean War Veterans Memorial Foundations, I am pleased to join you today to congratulate the winners of the photo and the video contest. I want to thank everyone from around the country who participated in these efforts to remember the Korean War and united in our common hope for everlasting peace in Korea. As a daughter of the South Korea and the first Korean American First Lady in any state, I am truly thankful for the sacrifice and the service of our Korean War veterans. We all owe you an incredible debt. At a very young age, they fight for the democracy and the freedom we enjoy today, and they give our generations a bright future. This contest is a great example of ways we can continue to learn about the Korean War and share the legacy of those who bravely fight and made the ultimate sacrifices. Also, once the construction is complete, I encourage you to visit the Wall of the Remembrance and read the more than 36,000 names of Korean War veterans that will be written on the wall. Congratulations to the winners again. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dermot Jusum Foley, and I'm a rising 7th grader at Eastern Middle School in Silver Spring, Maryland. I was part of a team working on a documentary about the Korean War Memorial. As a Korean American, I've grown up listening to stories from my grandparents about the war and how their lives were saved by American troops, so I was honored to be the youngest judge in the contest. I am proud to announce the winners of the youth entries. The winner of the Korean Best Video is Brian Jung of Philadelphia for 할아버지의 6.25 전쟁 이야기. The winner of Korean Best Photo is Yeonji Nicole of Jeju-do, South Korea for The Faces We Should Remember. And now the English youth entries. The winner of Best Video is Crystal Hahn of California for Don't Forget Our Past and Our History. And the winner of Korean Best Essay is Lee Yun-so of San Jose, California for Language of Sunflowers. The winner of Best Photo is Hae Kim of Centreville, Virginia for A Flower to the Heroes. And the winner of Best Essay is Faith Yu of Missoula, Montana for her piece on the Rose Memorial Park. And the winner for the English Youth Popular Vote is Ella Shin of New York City for My Grandfather. Hi, this is Dermot again. I'm here to announce the runners-up and the grand prize because they're all youth entries. I hope this shows how the younger generation will continue to remember the Korean War veterans and push for peace on the peninsula. The Korean runner-up is Chung Oh-sok from Shenyang, China for her video 6.25의 다른 이름.
제가 사는 중국 선양은 서울에서 540km 떨어진 비행기로는 1시간 30분 거리입니다. 저는 중국 선양에서 대한민국의 건화로서 당당하게 성장하고 있습니다. 제가 사는 중국 선양은 고구려의 유적지와 일제시대 독립운동가들의 흔적과 민족의 영산 벽두산과 북한, 중국, 러시아, 삼국의 국경 지점에서 3세계 일출을 볼 수 있고 두만강과 압록강을 볼 수 있는 곳입니다. 중국 단동에서 본 압록강 단교의 모습입니다. 여러 번 다녀온 압록강 단교이지만 이번 영상을 준비하면서 6.25 전쟁 당시 중국이 한국과 적대 관계였다는 것을 인식하게 되었습니다. 그리고 6.25의 다른 이름을 알게 되었습니다. 미국은 한국에서 벌어진 전쟁이라서 한국전쟁이라고 부르고 일부는 조선전쟁, 북한은 조국 해방전쟁이라고 부릅니다. 그리고 중국은 항미원조이라고 부릅니다. 미국에 침략당한 북한을 중국이 도왔다는 뜻입니다. 중국에서도 6.25의 다른 이름 항미원조를 기념하는 기념관과 항미참전용사가 있으며 처음으로 승리를 거둔 10월 25일을 항미원조 기념일로 지정하고 있습니다. 6.25의 다른 이름, 항미 원조의 70주년을 기념하기 위해 만든 전쟁 영화와 드라마도 있습니다. 이상가족, 사상자 등 전쟁으로 인한 상처는 모두가 안고 있습니다. 그러나 전쟁에 대한 해석과 입장은 다릅니다. 특히 남침으로 인한 6.25 전쟁의 발발을 중국은 남침이 아니라 내전일 뿐이며 내전이 일어난 후에 미국이 무력 개입하여 전면전을 일으켰다고 말합니다. 6.25의 다른 입장 차이로 양국의 긴장감이 고조되고 있습니다. 문득 새끼 오리가 태어나서 처음 본 대상이 어미 오리인 줄 믿고 따라다닌다는 각인 효과가 생각났습니다. 저는 중국에서 자랐지만 부모님과 함께 한국의 발자취를 따라왔기에 항미 원조가 아닌 6.25를 어미 오리로 알고 자랐습니다. 백두산에서 흔들지 못한 태극기를 독도에서 마음껏 흔들면서 중국 땅에서 느끼지 못한 애국의 감정을 느꼈습니다. 천안의 독립기념관에서 본 수많은 태극기로 벅찼고 용산의 수많은 기념비에 빼곡히 새겨진 이름에 숙연해졌습니다. 더 이상 역사가 왜곡되지 않고 감정이 악화되지 않고 6.25의 이름을 지킬 수 없을까요? 무엇보다 많은 사람의 관심과 바른 교육이 뒷받침되어야 할 것입니다. 저와 6.25를 어미 오리로 품은 더 많은 후대가 각각의 영향력 있는 자리에서 6.25를 알리는 홍보대사가 된다면 6.25의 이름을 평화적으로 지킬 수 있지 않을까요? 6.25 그 이름을 기억하겠습니다.
The English runner-up from New York City is Jude Hong for her photo essay, Timeless Blossom. And the grand prize winner is Choi Jung-woo of Virginia for Pi Nan Min, or Refugees, about her grandparents' escape from Hwangha Province.
We would like to congratulate all the winners of the contest. Excellent job. You will be notified to receive instructions to claim your prize. And we would like to thank all the judges and contestants who participated in this worldwide effort to honor our veterans and promote peace.
리멤버 727 사진 및 영상 콘테스트의 모든 우승자분들 진심으로 축하드립니다. 상품 수령에 대한 안내는 따로 받게 될 것입니다. 그리고 참여하신 모든 심사위원님들과 콘테스트 참석자분들, 6.25 전쟁을 기억하고 참전용 선생님들 희생을 기리며 미래의 한반도 평화에 기원 않는 노력에 동참해 주셔서 진심으로 감사드립니다.
All entries will be available on www.remember727.com. I will repeat that, www.remember727.com for public viewing.
수상작 및 모든 출품작은 www.remember727.com에서 보실 수 있습니다.
Lastly, we present to you a video from PKUN supporters, college students in Busan who translated video interview of Korean War veterans collected by Ms. Hana Kim all around the world.
마지막으로 한나킴이 전 세계 참전용 선생님들을 방문하여 수습한 인터뷰를 한국어로 번역하여 비디오로 만든 부경 UN 서포터스의 비디오를 감상하도록 하겠습니다.
Thank you once again for joining us today to honor our veterans and to promote peace.
참전용사님들의 희생을 기리고 평화를 기원하기 위해 오늘 한 마음 한 뜻으로 함께 해주신 데 다시 한번 깊이 감사드립니다. 감사합니다.
안녕하세요. 세계 유일의 UN 평화특구를 중점으로 활동하고 있는 부경대학교 UN 서포터즈입니다.
올해 2021년에는 국내에서 리멤버 727 프로젝트를 통해서 참전용사님들에게 감사의 마음을 전달하게 되었습니다.
전쟁은 북한의 남침으로 시작해 1950년 6월 25일부터 1953년 7월 27일까지 1129일 동안 계속되었습니다. 그런 대한민국을 도와주기 위해 22개국의 국가가 도움을 주셨습니다. 저는 병력 지원국으로서 보병 2개 대대와 해상 항공전력 등 8,407명을 파견하여 영유리 전투, 박전지구 전투 등 북한군과 중공군의 공격을 격파했습니다. 벨기에는 병력 지원국으로서 보병 1개 대대 3,498명의 병력을 파견하여 한강산 진출 전투와 임진강 전투 등 북한군과 중공군의 공격을 격파했습니다.
캐나다는 병력 지원군으로서 보병 1개 여단과 공군, 해군 지원 등 25,687명의 병력을 파견하여 가평 지구 전투, 자엘리 전투 등 북한군과 중공군의 공격을 격파했습니다. 콜롬비아는 병력 지원군으로서 보병 1개 대대와 해군 지원 등 5,100여 명의 병사를 파견하여 400고지, 180고지 등 고지 전투에서 중공군의 공격을 격파했습니다. 에티오피아는 병력 지원국으로서 보병 1개 대대 6,037명을 파견하여 접근산 전투와 요크엉클 고지 전투 등 북한군과 중공군의 공격을 격파하였습니다.
프랑스는 병력 지원국으로서 보병 1개 대대와 해군 지원 등 3,421명을 파견하여 원주, 기평리 전투 등에서 북한군과 중공군의 공격을 격파했습니다.
그리스는 병력 지원국으로서 보병 1개 대대 등 4,992명을 파견하여 1차, 2차 원주전투, 380일 고지전투 등 북한군과 중공군의 공격을 격파했습니다.
미국은 병력 지원국으로 가장 많은 인원 파견 및 인천 상륙 작전을 성공으로 이끌고 한국에게 가장 큰 도움을 주었습니다. 필리핀은 병력 지원국으로 후방 게릴라 소탕 작전 및 임진강 부근의 주요 거점을 확보하는 데 공로를 세웠습니다.
태국은 병력 지원국으로 중공군으로부터 확실한 고지 방어를 보여주었습니다. 뉴질랜드는 병력 지원군으로 포병 부대와 해군 병력으로 해상 작전을 지원하여 가평 용처에서 큰 역할을 했습니다. 남아프리카 공화국은 병력 지원군으로 항공 자원과 북한의 철도 등을 폭격하는 차단 작전을 수행했습니다.
영국은 병력 지원국으로서 낙동강 방어 작전 및 뉴욕과 함께 여러 해상 작전을 수행했습니다. 네덜란드는 병력 지원국으로 힘성 원조 전투에서 북한군을 상대로 엄청난 전투를 보여줬습니다. 룩셈부르크는 병력 지원국으로 적은 인원이었지만 벨기에 대대와 함께 금굴산을 확실히 지켜냈습니다. 터키는 병력 지원국으로 미국과 함께 청천강, 금양장리 전투와 유엔군의 반격 작전에 참여했습니다. 자유로운 대한민국을 지켜주시고 새로운 미래를 그릴 수 있도록 도와주셔서 감사합니다. 그러나 여전히 대한민국은 세계 유엔 동맹국가로 전쟁의 위협 속에서 일상을 살아가고 있습니다. 왜냐하면 현재 대한민국은 정전이 아닌 정전에 머물러 있기 때문입니다. 많은 사람들이 한국 전쟁의 비극적인 시작인 6월 25일은 기억하지만 새로운 시작이자 불완전한 평화가 시작될 정전협정 일에 대해 기억하지 못합니다.
1953년 1월 27일은 판문점에서 정전협정을 맺은 날입니다. 한나김은 이날을 기억하며 평화를 위해 노력하자는 마음을 담아 리멤버 727 프로젝트를 시작했습니다.
UN 서포터즈는 해외 참전 용사님들의 이야기가 국내에 전해지도록 한국어로 번역해 유튜브에 업로드했습니다. 그리고 한국어로 리멤버 727 홈페이지를 개설해 많은 사람들이 온라인을 통해 만날 수 있는 공간을 마련했습니다. 앞으로도 UN 서포터즈는 참전 용사님들의 용기와 희생을 기억하며 영원한 평화가 찾아오는 날까지 쉬지 않고 걸어갈 것입니다. 다시 한번 대한민국을 위해 싸워주셔서 감사드립니다.
오.